Hi, this is a series on reflecting on our hearts regarding a current issue in our country. And I just politely ask you, I don't mean to be rude or demanding, but I politely ask you, this series is intended to be a series. It's an extended conversation. This is the 15th video in the conversation. And if you do plan on commenting, especially in disagreement, then I would encourage you, please watch the whole series before you do that. Even if you're not planning on doing that, I'd encourage you, please watch from video 1 up to 15. Don't watch this one until you've done that, because you'll be lost. Again, you kind of be jumping halfway through a conversation, and whenever someone does that, it doesn't work out. So I encourage you, please watch the videos. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Then please don't jump into video 15. Just don't watch it all, unless you're willing to jump into all of them. And it's fine if not. But if you're willing to go with us on this journey to make sure our heart's right regarding this issue, then I'm glad to have you join us. Hopefully you've watched the other videos now that you're proceeding with video 15 here. And this is the video where we're going to start studying. We've been thinking about race and the issues of race, and now we've been doing that more in a reflective sense. Now we'll still be reflective, but now we want to add to it study pieces each time to see if we can add some information coming from other sources to see what this might say to us. So I am pulling from a research project that was done by Harvard University. In the comments, I won't get it on there right away, but today I will get the links and comments. There's a couple of links to a Harvard study, and then another study that the Harvard study links to. And in this study, what they looked at was people who get called back for interviews from resumes. And they were actually only comparing African Americans to African Americans. There actually is a piece in there studying Asians as well. But what happens is, if an African American puts forth a resume, then and it carries with it an ethnicity, so like their name gives away that they're African American, or when they list things they're involved in that might be an ethnic involvement, they're in, like a Black Caucus kind of scenario. So something on the resume indicates that they're Black. Then 10% of the applicants get called back for interviews. If they change those things, if they eliminate mentioning that they're involved in something like a Black Caucus and such, if they make sure that their name, some of them have changed their names or modified their names so it sounds more white in nature than a Black type of name, and so nothing in their resume reveals that they're Black, 25% of applicants get called back for interviews. Now these are doctored resumes, so it's a consistent study. And again, more than twice as many applicants, if African Americans whiten up their resumes, get called in for interviews than if they allow their ethnicity to come through in their resume. Now, you might be tempted to reject the study and say, well, there might be this, there might be that. And just like we've been saying, this is where we want to do our reflection. Why are you going to reject the study? On what grounds? Are you going to do any additional research and targeted research? So just because you go and look for research that proves there's no systemic racism does not mean you've disproven the theory from this specific research study. What you need to do is see if you could find information that demonstrates that there's a flaw in this study and it's not actually accurate. African Americans don't actually get more favorable results when they whiten up their resume. If you can't do that, then maybe you'll figure out that there is a problem here. And when we say systemic racism, we mean that businesses, it's not just people, businesses. Now, the people are running the businesses, but something within the hiring process that's happening is resulting in it being harder for African Americans to get interviews if they allow their ethnicity to come through on their application or on their resume. Now, why not look deeper into it? So again, if you just hear the study and say, well, I don't believe that, why do you not believe it and not look into it further? That's a big question to ask ourselves. And then if you look into it deeper and you realize there is a problem, why won't you accept that there is a problem? What is it you're afraid is going to happen if you accept that? What is it you're afraid you're admitting to, and why is that a problem? And just kind of think through those things. And it's not as important, the results of these reflections, as it is us as individuals making sure we're actually examining our heart to see, is there something wrong that's going on in us, in our society? There should be, sometimes I hear people say, well, maybe African Americans are less qualified, which that in itself is a problematic statement, because I don't know how you could be less qualified for something just because of the color of your skin. That doesn't logically make sense, but I've heard people put forth those arguments. Also, if you've listened to our previous videos, there could be a whole system scenario in our country which makes it more difficult for African Americans to access quality education and opportunities and experiences that all compound to make this an issue. So again, if you think that it's because they lack qualifications, just look into it more and ask yourself why that is your conclusion. Again, the resumes, if you read the study, the resumes were favorable resumes. Nothing was changed from one resume to another except whitening up the names and removing any involvement in ethnic type activity. So it has nothing to do with qualifications. So just be honest. Be honest with what you're thinking as you think through this. Again, do honest research. And when I say honest, just make sure you're not getting stuff from just one side. Look in both sides, and actually don't try to start with, this is the conclusion I need. Just try to get your heart in a place where whatever the actual conclusion is, what the truth is, I'm going to accept that, even if it means I need to change my mind. We have to be in that place. Again, previous videos has pointed that out to us. Let this give you a reason to regularly examine your heart. So we should regularly be asking ourselves, okay, so this seems to be out there. And so I need to ask myself, do I have prejudice? Do I have those things? So when I interact, and we've said this before, if I interact with someone of a different race, the way I'm treating them, talking to them, about them, thinking of them, is any of that affected by their race? Am I doing any of that because of that they're of a different race than me? So we want to be mindful of that. We want to also, once we get this information, when we hear other people that we're in conversation with say something that indicates that they don't really know this reality, then point it out to them. Say, well, actually, I've seen a study that shows this. They say there is no systemic racism, or there's no prejudice problem in our country, there's no whatever. Then say, hey, you should read this study. Send it to them, text it to them, email it to them, and just make sure that you give pushback. Don't just silently watch by as other people stay in ignorance. Push back, challenge their perspectives, challenge their ideas. Don't just keep ignoring it. If you are in a position, like if you're at a job where you have some influence with the company or the organization, make sure to speak up about these issues, especially if you're in a position in which you do hiring, or you're in management or leadership within the company or the organization. Please make sure that you're mindful of the things I'm in charge of, the things our organization does. Is there something that it does that indicates that it is there's a prejudice that's happening in the way that our our company, our business, our organization functions. And remember that some of this stuff happens subconsciously. So just pretending that it doesn't exist is actually not going to bring about a solution. Because if you pretend it doesn't exist, then subconscious motives will never be addressed and you'll stay in that. And so you can't just live by saying, well, I'm just going to pretend like there is no race issue and I won't have a problem. No, you have to acknowledge that there is, not with you necessarily, but there are people out there that are prejudiced. There is a race issue. And now I just need to see, is it in me? Is it in the company or the organization that I'm a part of? Some people I hear say, well, okay, so if they're changing their names and they're changing up their resume to help out, then why shouldn't they just keep doing that? Why do I need to do something? Should we really, because we have prejudice problems, should we really expect people to change their names and leave off that they are involved in different things that might help with their resume, but leave it off because it connects them to an ethnicity? Are we really saying that they are the ones that need to change? Why would the person who's prejudiced say the people who are who I'm prejudiced against, they need to change it so that they're not what I'm prejudiced against? Why shouldn't it be the other way around, where if I'm prejudiced, I need to do something to change that and not be prejudiced anymore? But I'm telling you, I've heard a number of times where people will say, well, African Americans, they just need to change that themselves. And I can't believe that we would say that the person who needs to change is the one who's being mistreated or left out because of their race, rather than the person who is behaving in a prejudiced way. It shouldn't be on the minorities. It shouldn't be on minorities to stop prejudiced behavior. It should be on the people who are prejudiced to stop prejudiced behavior. There might not be really bad motives at times in people that are doing this. So the people that are doing the hiring, there might be fears, certain things inside their head as to why they end up not calling in for an interview someone that has a more African American sounding name or something on their resume that points it out. There might be a reason for that. But even if the reason isn't clearly a major bad thing, I still should bear the responsibility, if I'm doing the hiring, to make sure I'm hiring in such a way that I'm not making it difficult for minorities to get jobs. That's my responsibility. You might say, well, why is that a hiring agent's responsibility? Well, for a Christian, we should be caring for those that are out. We should be caring for doing things justly. And so if we're following Jesus, we should make sure we're doing that. So ask ourselves those questions. Be reflective in that, and keep doing the research and keep doing the study. And I'm telling you, like my experience has been, I didn't really believe in this systemic racism stuff until I started studying it. And at some point you reach a tipping point where you got another article, another news piece, another book, another thing that points it out. And at some point you have to say, well, wow, after 500 times of someone's showing me evidence that it's there, I got to eventually believe that it's there. And so do the research. I'm going to do some of the research for you. Do some of the research yourself, and hopefully we get there. Again, this is a more private series in that it's really just for those who are actually open-minded to discuss. It doesn't mean you have to agree with everything, but just that you're actually open-minded to think about what's being said and to respond to that. So if you have any questions for me, please leave that in the comments, or you can Facebook message me, or you can email me, dleveck@bethelpgh.org. Please give some interaction with it. It would help me know, whether or not we're making impact on our reflections of these issues. So like it, comment on it, share it with someone that you think has an open heart, open mind with it, and see where that goes. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button. If you're on Facebook, please follow the page, and doing that will allow you to be notified when additional videos are uploaded. But thanks for joining me in this series, and let's keep seeing if God can bring purity to our relationships with people of other races. God bless you.